Hi, I'm Joe.
I'm Joe's mom.
And we're
Eastside Vibes.
Today we're doing something a little different for us. We're throwing it back to when my mom was, a teenager. We're talking about Prince's Purple Rain. We obviously have a lot of Prince stuff behind us because that's my mom's favorite artist, and I like him too. So yeah, we wanted to talk about this album this week, and I'll let my mom kind of get this one going.
So, dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to talk about Prince, one of the greatest icons in musical history ever. So I wanted to just do a background of Prince so that, if you are a Prince fan, you know everything there is to know about Prince. But
I do, just because of you.
Yeah, because of me. But if you don't, he's just a very interesting he was a very interesting person. And by the way, today is the anniversary of his passing. He passed
today.
It's today. Oh. Yeah, that's why I wanted to do this today. He was from Minnesota, and he passed away in 2016 at my age. Ironically, he was 57 years old. What a young guy. So, to talk about him as a musical artist, but also as a person is really interesting. So, first of all, he was born in Minnesota, and he lived his whole life there. He never went to the West Coast or the East Coast.
That's something I always thought that's really cool about him. There's a music venue in Minneapolis called First Ave that he built.
Yep.
And it's still one of the more popular ones in the country,
right.
I would say.
Right, and he would just have bands come there and play. To whatever.
Yeah, I know he literally lived in. I think he lived in because you said he's from Minneapolis. I thought he's from Minnetonka, which is right outside of Minneapolis.
He was born in Minneapolis is what I should have said. He was born in Minneapolis, yeah.
But he lived in that city his whole life.
Yeah.
He just had a mansion there.
Yep. Paisley Park.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's really cool and unique.
Yes.
I'm sure he had a house in LA, but that's not where he lived.
Yeah. He lived his whole life in the Midwest, which really makes him even more great than ever. Let's see a couple other things. He did have a child. He was married twice, and he did have a child named Amir. But unfortunately, Amir was born with a disease, kind of where the face. I don't know what it is, but there was tumors all over his face, and he passed away 7 days after he was born. So I know that affected him and his music a lot. His music kind of changed.
When did that happen?
I can't remember. I just know that
it had to be after this.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was way after this. Okay. Yeah, way after Purple Rain. But his music changed a lot after that. His sound and stuff like that just really changed.
His stuff at the end was a lot more gospel and psychedelic.
Mm-hmm.
The albums, especially the ones in the 2000s.
Right, exactly. Let's see, a couple interesting things about him. Musically, he is, there's other artists out there, but I'm just talking about Prince. Musically, he could play so many instruments. It was unbelievable. He was really great at keyboard, drum, acoustic, and bass guitar. But on his first album, his debut album, he played every single instrument on that album. I can't imagine going back and forth trying to do that in the 1990s or whatever.
There are people who do it today, but I feel today artists are using a lot more synths and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still really talented. They're creating these cool things,
right.
But back then, he wasn't able to do that.
No.
He was playing horn instrument or wind instruments and stuff on there too.
Right. He
not just string instruments and not just percussion.
Nope. They said they even consider he played the bongos. He played the cymbal, and obviously if you clap or you snap, that's considered instruments, and his clapping and snapping was also considered one of the 27 instruments that he played.
Yeah, there's flute and stuff, those kind of instruments in there too.
Absolutely amazing. And he was really every album he had, he was very I don't know what the word is I'm thinking, but he was he made sure everything was done exactly the same. So he wasn't one of those guys who, and we talked about this, he didn't give up what he wanted to do for someone else to make it bigger. He wanted it to be his way and kind of his way only. And we were talking about that like with Michael Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah, Michael Jackson, I mean, he obviously like had more of like a production team like behind what he was doing, and they created this insane spectacle that made him the biggest artist like in the history of music.
Yeah.
And Prince maybe held himself back a little bit because he had to control everything he was doing. One thing that's interesting about him is how many songs he wrote for, like, #1 songs he wrote for other artists.
I
know someone today who's like somewhat compared to Prince is Bruno Mars.
Yes.
Who's also done that.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of like big pop songs from today that were just written by Bruno Mars. That you don't know, but he also has like all these #1 hits himself.
Right. His when they did it was at the Grammys, when they did the memoriam to him, Bruno Mars. Morris Day and the Time, who was very close to Prince, they did, but he came out in the full regalia, and like even his band members were dressed like the Revolution, and it was amazing. I mean, it was absolutely amazing.
He would be the artist today that could like be able to capture that the most.
Yeah.
Although I was saying before too that I think that, you know, a lot of people would say that The Weeknd's music today is inspired by Michael Jackson. I think it's inspired more by Prince, especially like this album.
Yes,
because
I agree.
This is a pretty, I would say it sounds pretty futuristic for like was it 1983 or 4?
Somewhere around there.
I think it's 1984 when this came out. And I would I would imagine for this time, this sounded like it was from like 2015.
Yeah, it's like, I agree, and it's very moody.
Like, you know, like from like your perspective, I feel like it would have to. You're like, this is who else was making music that sounded like that?
No one, because he was all over. I mean, I don't want to say all over the place, but he could change his style.
Yeah, it's funky and like disco-y, but like also. There are a lot of like synths and stuff on this. It's very almost I don't know. I want to say like robotic sounding, but
some of them, some of the
songs
instrumentals about very much.
But then like his vocals are so like lively and it contrasts that like extremely well. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
You were talking about songs that he wrote for other people. So Nothing Compares to You, he wrote for Sinead O'Connor. Manic Monday, the Bangles. I didn't know this one. How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore was for Alicia Keys. I had no idea about that one.
I knew that one too.
And he also wrote songs for Madonna, and he played on her Like a Prayer song. Yeah, that was really cool. Like,
did you know that before this? I knew that one.
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, I remember looking that up. It said that Prince played that. Do you know also the weird thing about what's the Michael Jackson, the song with all the people in it?
Heal the World?
Is that what it's called?
Make it a better place.
That song?
Yeah.
You know Prince was supposed to be on that?
Oh, We Are the World.
Yeah, We Are the
World, yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to be on it, and apparently he went out and like partied really hard the night before it was supposed to be recorded, and he didn't make it.
Oh.
Yeah, and they were like mad he didn't show up. Basically, that's why he's on. I don't know. I'm sure you know it. There's like a song that came out a few months later. That's almost like the part 2 of that.
Yeah.
And he's on that one.
Yeah. Yep.
That was something I read. I'm like, that is really weird. And like, he was supposed to be on that. He wasn't like beefing with Michael Jackson. He was just like got like too, wasted. Drunk or whatever. Yeah.
Party too hard. So. Getting into the album itself, okay, so getting into Purple Rain, a lot of interesting things about that. First of all, he was the main lyricist for basically the entire album. I mean, he was the guy who put it together, but he had brought in this Wendy and Lisa at one point, and they joined the band The Revolution. And ironically, we were talking about First Avenue. Her very first appearance with Prince and The Revolution was when she was only 19 years old. And she was probably one of the most influential people for him musically. So when Purple Rain came out, he used.
Is she from like Minnesota? Or?
I don't know if she is or not actually, but she gave him a lot of ideas that I want to say edited the songs a little bit because musically she's just very, very good. I have a lot of notes on this one, just so you know. Let's see. Wendy and Lisa, as I said, so the bridge for Purple Rain, you know, the do 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 do. The song Purple Rain itself was actually written for Stevie Nicks, and it was supposed to be like a kind of country folk ballad, but he only had the instrumental, and so apparently he sent it to her, and it was like 10 minutes long, and she was so overwhelmed by it that she sent it back, and she's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. So
I don't know if I could imagine Stevie Nicks doing a song like that.
Yeah.
And she's great.
Oh, I know. I
don't know if she like has like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, if she could just do a song like that.
Right, because he just gave her the instrumental.
What's her, like, he wrote a couple of her biggest songs too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know he did.
Oh, she's a great performer.
He wrote, she was like, what's her like duet one? That's really big. I
can't remember.
I know he wrote that one. The one, it's like a duet song.
Okay.
Of Stevie Nicks's.
Yeah, he must have been a big Stevie Nicks fan, but he worked with so many people, and
I think he was really good friends with her.
Yeah, he worked and wrote songs for so many people, but he didn't like go out there and like say I did it. Like all the, you know, we're listening to these rap songs, and you know they're always out there saying, "Oh, you owe me because I helped you." He never did that. It was always on the down low.
Did Prince have like a movie deal or something?
Oh, okay. So that's for Purple Rain. So
yeah, because I'm like, if this was written for Stevie Nicks, then how did this movie?
Right. Happen? So what happened is when she said no, he brought it back to the band, and this Wendy and Lisa started working on the riff to it, or the beginning of the song, and then in addition to that, he got the ideas from his dad, who was a played jazz.
Yeah.
His dad had given him a lot of bridges over the years, so he mixed all of that in to make Purple Rain itself. Let's see. The other thing about, I was going to say something else about Purple Rain. Oh, so what happened is he had Purple Rain like ready to go. Like he was ready to release it. He was on his 1999 tour. Okay. And when he finished the album, he went to Warner Brothers and he said, look, I've got this album, but it's not an album. It's a movie. And apparently when he was on tour, he had this purple notebook that he was writing all these notes in. Okay. And he said, and I want to star in this movie. And he said, if you're not going to let me do it, I'm leaving you. Yeah. So,
that's crazy.
Exactly. So it only took 6 weeks to make the movie. And if you've ever seen the movie, it is, you know.
Yeah, I would say it looks like it took 6 weeks to make it.
Yeah, it looked like it took 6 weeks. I mean, I don't think anybody was a great actor in it.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say it's the best movie. It has iconic scenes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's the best movie, though.
Yeah, but the music, the music is what makes the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like they acted around the music itself. So I know we had and the other thing about it is the album itself was not officially released until When Doves Cry came out, because he like had one more song he wanted to put on there, but When Doves Cry is like completely different than the story of the album.
Yeah, it definitely is.
Yeah, it kind of, it doesn't fit, but yet it fits.
Even in the movie, it doesn't, like, that scene is pretty random.
Yeah, I remember.
If you, like, know that scene, it's also the music video, basically.
Yeah, I remember when that music video was coming out for the first time. Rest her soul, my friend Wendy Rebar, who's passed, I was at her house and we were just planted in front of MTV waiting for it to come out. And I remember her parents were behind us and they're like, what is this? And we're like, shh, shh, we're trying to listen to it. So you were saying you just kind of want to talk about the whole album itself, or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah.
All right. So, you know what, the most iconic, I shouldn't say iconic. He starts off with Let's Go Crazy. That's the first song on the album.
Yeah.
But that's not the first song in the movie. Let's Go Crazy came at the end.
But I feel like Let's Go Crazy is like a good opener for this album.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder why it's not the first song in the movie, too.
I agree.
Like, it could be the first song and the last song, to be honest.
Right.
Because, like, it kind of, like, sets, like, the, you know, like, a scene, I would say.
Right, because the whole movie is just, it's crazy. It's the storyline behind it is very
well,
crazy.
even for the album, too.
Yeah.
Like, it's, like, this song where he's, like, kind of, like, you know, like, welcoming people, like, to, like, a...
Yep.
You know, a show or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying, like, we're gonna just, like, forget about, like, everything that's going on in our lives, like, right now.
Yep.
And just, like, go through this, like...
Go through, yeah.
You know, like, go through this little thing he created.
Right.
And it's, like, definitely the most, like, lively song on the
Mm-hmm.
album.
Yes.
It's the most, like... It's the song that you would play, like, when you want to party the most.
Right. It definitely, when you play that song, you may not know the words, but everybody's at least heard it in some way, shape, or form.
And I would... You know, it's funny, because you said When Doves Cry is the one that's, like, the most out of place.
Mm-hmm.
I would say this one, like, sonically is probably the most out of place. I don't know if anything that comes after it is that similar.
Well, when the song is actually played at the very end...
It almost sounds like his old music before this.
Right. It's played near the very end, and it comes like I said, it's part of the ending part of it. So no, everything else it's very moody. Like it's a very moody album itself. But you had something really interesting about When Doves Cry. What they say about
I mean, we'll talk about that later in the album.
Okay, so that's that one. You said so. The next song on the album was "Take Me With You," and you said you liked that one.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. I think it sounds a lot like Baby I'm a Star, which I think is the next song.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, this one, I think lyrically it's a little better for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a little smoother. Baby I'm a Star has like that Let's Go Crazy effect a little bit, where it's a little more party music. It's upbeat. This one's a lot more like synthetic, I would say, like smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Like music from like artists like The Weeknd or like Tory Lanez like feels inspired by songs like this.
Okay.
I would say.
All right.
And yeah, no, I just think it's one, like, I know it's like not as celebrated. That's one of the reasons why I kind of like to shout it out, because like for some reason it's probably like this and Computer Blue are like the songs that people like don't really talk about. Every other song on this album are pretty much like iconic in music.
Right. I
would say.
I think Computer Blue is instrumentally an amazing song.
Yeah.
It's just it's so.
It's almost like Daft Punky.
Yes, definitely. It's just so different, and it's one of those. I like it. It's like one, like I mean I can tell you every scene that's happening in the movie when I listen to these songs, but yeah, Computer Blue just has just like a different whole, like you said, sound to it. Very Daft Punk kind of thing. Yeah.
Isn't Baby I'm a Star, that's the next song, right?
No, it's The Beautiful Ones.
Oh. Yeah, that was one of your picks.
Yeah, and again, that's one of those songs that I don't think a lot of people like know it either. But his voice in it, I think I know so it because
I like what I have. When I went through this album, I was surprised at like how many songs I just have saved in my music. Almost every song on the album.
Excellent.
But this was one of them, and I thought that was because it was like a popular song, but
yeah,
I guess it's not as much.
No. So when
you dislike it, I guess.
I love it.
Yeah.
When he was singing it, he was like singing to this girl who he was in love with, and she happened to be in the crowd with, you know, a different guy, but his voice changes through it. Like there's times when he's like, it's almost like it's a ballad that he's singing to her, and then he quietly talks at one point, and then at the end it's like he's growling like, do you want him, you know? But that's probably the part that gets me the most, because it's just like it's so emotional when he says that to her.
Yeah. Like one thing, there's like songs like this, and there's other ones too. Obviously Purple Rain is one that's like really evident about this album. It's like how good of a vocalist he was.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of artists ever who can like do like songs like this where like he is like growling. I can't even think of anyone like right now who could like do something like that.
Yeah, and I don't think, like you said, he was so ahead of his time. I don't even know if people were doing things like that, like singing and then talking and all of a sudden growling at the end, and it's like it's so powerful.
It's when I listen to this, it's it's kind of crazy like how ahead of its time this album is. When like you listen to this, you're like, this came out like I said, like 1984, and it sounds like there are a lot of music right now sounds like this.
Yes,
very similar.
Yes, definitely, 100%.
Like very similar.
So we'll go. We already talked about Computer Blues, but you said your next favorite song is "Darling Nikki."
Well, that's not my next pick. That is
it's your pick.
No, that is one of my. That was like my third one.
Okay.
One reason I like it is because it's slower.
Yep.
It's probably like the slowest song on the album besides Purple Rain.
I agree.
It kind of like switches things up a little bit. And when you listen to this song, I mean, like if this came out today, this isn't like that crazy.
No.
But if you think about like when this kind of when this album came out in 1984, like I'm pretty sure this album, or if I'm correct, this song caused like the whole like RIAA thing.
Oh, huge!
Where they have to put like the reason there's like mature labels on albums now is literally because of this album.
Yeah, and this song basically.
And that's what I meant, like this song, Darling Nikki.
Yeah, it's
like that's an interesting thing. It's this song, and then again they almost tried to ban like promiscuous music because of like an Eminem song in like the early 2000s.
Yeah, I mean all of his songs, I shouldn't say all, there was a time, like you said, they started to change in the 2000s, but they were all, I'll just say they were all about sex. Every song, I mean, that he did basically. And
I was gonna ask, was this song like really popular when it came out? Because I feel like for younger people they really like this one.
I don't think so. I don't think as much because
I feel like it's grown a lot over the years.
It's grown a lot. I think that was one of those songs that when it came out in the movie, people, at least for me, I like felt uncomfortable. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, if you're not used to like that
like why is he singing about that? You know, but so that's what that's Darling Nikki, and then we just talked about When Doves Cry. I mean. You know, you still. Oh, and we were talking about, what did you say about? When Doves
there's
Cry?
a couple like interesting things about it. One, just like how this song, like you would think it would be Purple Rain. This song is actually considered like his most popular song.
Yep.
Like more than like Kiss and Purple Rain and.
Yep.
Like I remember, I've read multiple lists about like music from the 80s and like watched like multiple shows about it, and they the song's always pointed to as one of the biggest songs, if not the biggest song of the 80s.
Right. I think two books we read, there's 2 books about Prince that we read, and this is always the song that they refer to first.
It's this, and then like Bon Jovi and Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Like the songs that are like the songs of the 80s.
Yeah.
And, like, was this song, like, that popular in the 80s? Would you say it felt like a song of the 80s?
Definitely.
Because I would say, like, Blinding Lights feels like a song of the 2020s. Like, that's a song that will be popular in 20 years.
Right.
And there's not a lot of other songs I can think of, like, that came out in the last 4 years that are like that.
Yeah. I wonder if they would have TikTok dances to this song. If they did it, it would be interesting. Or anything on this album.
If this came out now, it would be #1 for sure.
Oh, yes.
100%.
Yes, 100%.
But yeah, the other cool thing about When Doves Cry is that it's like the only #1 song ever, at least up until like a couple of years ago. I guess I don't know if it's if it's still true. Only #1 song on Billboard that like didn't have just a bass line.
Yes.
Or at least like a pop song.
Yeah.
Maybe like a pop song.
Yeah.
Like there's no actual bass line in the drums. If you listen to it,
there's not.
Every other song on this album obviously has a bass line, even the slow ones, because that's just most music has it.
Right.
But he like uses a snare like for like the tempo. And if you actually listen to the drums, it sounds kind of weird.
Yes.
Because but like at the same time, it's cool. Like the tempo is still like, it feels like there is like a bass line.
Yep.
It's upbeat.
Yeah, it is upbeat, definitely. I was saying like that was the last song he wrote for the album, and again,
it might be like the lyrically, or not lyrically, it might be like the vocally like least, I don't know, like exciting one.
Yeah, it has never been a favorite song of mine. Like
compared to like other songs on this album, like the beautiful ones, you know, like where his vocals are insane. Like this one, like he doesn't really do it as much.
Right. Like I mean, obviously I know this album back and forth, but like this is a song I'll skip over. Like I'd rather listen to Darlene Nikki than this song, to be honest with you.
I mean, I would say I like it, but it's also not one of my favorites.
Yeah, I don't know. I never clicked with this song at all. The next one, I Would Die For You.
Yeah, I mean, that is my favorite song on this album. That might be my favorite Prince song.
Yep, they have it. So it's I Would Die For You. That's, yeah.
And I feel like this one doesn't... I don't know how popular it was when it came out. I think it was this a #1 song?
I don't know if it was or not, but I mean... This is a great song.
Yeah, it's always been my favorite song, like, from this album.
Yes, I'm gonna agree 100%. This one also came at the very end too.
A lot of like this is another song where like artists like The Weeknd, like you can hear, is literally directly inspired by this.
Yep, 100%.
And this also had to sound like it was coming from like 2080 in 1984. There's nothing else on the album that's, even though it does fit into like the melody and like the moody like sound, there's nothing that sounds like this.
No,
it's like disco, but like futuristic disco.
Yeah, he so like after this song is Baby I'm a Star. Yeah, and these two, you know, a lot of people always think, oh, Purple Rain was the very last song in the movie. No, it wasn't. It was actually I Would Die For You and Baby I'm a Star. Because when he did Purple Rain, he like ran off the stage and didn't realize the crowd loved what he did, and then he came back out and played I Would Die For You and Baby I'm a Star. You know, and to me though, I mean, Purple Rain is one of my favorite Prince songs, but these songs I've always really liked because they're more upbeat, like you said. The other ones are very moody, and these two are just like having a good time.
And like his vocals on this song are insane. Like he's like screaming at some points.
Yeah, and
this is like an upbeat pop song that you would like play like at a bar, or like, you know, like back when this came out, like this would be on the radio and everyone would be dancing around, and this guy's like screaming.
Yep, and he's like, his dancing, if you've ever seen any videos of this or just him performing it, he's like spinning around, he's like jumping, doing the splits, coming back up.
It's only like, what, a 3-minute song, and like the fact that it's like so powerful, like in like 3 minutes.
Yep.
Like it has like the power of like Purple Rain, and Purple Rain is like 8 minutes.
Right.
You know, this song's a lot like shorter, but like I feel like it's that like, I don't know, it's like a super big song. So is Baby I'm a Star.
It is.
But for me, this one is like bigger.
That's awesome. So we'll lead into, like I said, Baby I'm a Star. I find that one just really exciting because it's the end of the movie, and you would just think that Purple Rain would have ended it, but it would have been depressing if they had ended just with Purple Rain. So Baby I'm a Star, I just like how that one sounds a lot because it just brings the movie back up to kind of happiness. But obviously the key song here is Purple Rain.
The memory I have of Baby I'm a Star is like, because I really like that Super Bowl performance from Prince where he did like where it's like raining, it's in Miami, and and he leads with Baby I'm a Star. That's the first song. Yep. And like that marching band comes out. It's just really cool.
It is. I was actually going to talk about that, but we can talk about it now. Yeah, so even to this day, even considering the last Super Bowl performance, his is still considered the #1 Super Bowl performance of all time.
I would say that. That and the Michael Jackson one.
Michael Jackson is actually 8th on the list.
I mean, I don't agree with that.
To me, the only thing I can think about is that because when he popped up out of the stage, he just stood there for like 2 minutes.
That alone is really iconic.
Oh, it's amazing. But he didn't like perform right away, whereas Prince just got into it. And like
I'm saying Prince is better, but I think Michael Jackson's the second. I don't think it's the 8th.
No, ironically, who was the second? U2.
No, I would say the third one is probably Beyonce.
she's not even third. I think it's like Paul McCartney or something like that.
That one stung.
Yeah, I know. Like he's like, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, Purple Rain, just it's amazing. I'm gonna jump into Purple Rain with the Super Bowl. I think that's where I'm gonna go with it right now. So, when the Super Bowl happened, it was actually pouring rain, and the producers came to him and they're like, "Should we just cancel the show because he was going to be using all these different guitars and everything?"
There's like a ton of people on the stage.
Oh, ton, and
there's like a marching band.
Yep, and he goes, "Can you make it rain more?" That's what he said to them.
Well, it was in Miami, like the context of that Super Bowl, and it's like one of the worst Super Bowls ever because the score was really low because it was like a hurricane.
Yeah,
like a hurricane was happening that like a day in the Miami area.
Yep.
And it's the Super Bowl's happening, and it's sold out because it's the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And so like that's what he was performing in.
Right.
If you can see it like in that performance.
Oh, you can 100% see it. And I didn't mention this about it. So when he actually recorded Purple Rain was actually recorded in First Avenue in 1983. And then as soon as he recorded it, he contacted Jonathan Cain from Journey and had him listen to it because he was afraid it sounded too much like Faithfully, which is my favorite Journey song of all time, and he didn't want to like step on their toes.
I could see that it could maybe be a little bit inspired by Faithfully.
Right. But
I could see that.
He did not want to like take away from their what they do. So that was really cool. But again, getting back to the Super Bowl, so what was, and I think this is why a lot of people like the Super Bowl performance, he did not perform just his own songs.
Yeah.
He performed, let's see, I got to go back and I got to think of what it is because there were quite a few of them.
Well, one of them is Everlong by the Foo Fighters.
Yep. He did, let's see,
Proud Mary.
He did Proud Mary, Tina Turner, Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower. And the Foo Fighters' Best of You. So he threw other people's songs in there, to perform. It wasn't technically about him. It was about music.
Jimi Hendrix also do All Along the Watchtower?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. That's really cool. What a great performer.
That's what I thought that was inspired by. It sounds like Jimi Hendrix.
It does sound like Jimi Hendrix. I wonder if Bob Dylan just did
probably did it before him.
Right, because
Bob Dylan's from
Right, and they actually said that the Proud Mary one was the Creedence Clearwater Revival version. Yeah, but
he did that version.
Yeah, he did that version.
Okay,
but So, anyways, when he did get to Purple Rain, though, to me one of the greatest parts was when they put this giant banner up, like this flag, and you could see him like performing, behind it. And last week for me was Prince Week all week at school, every day. Poor kids. And on Friday I played the Super Bowl performance, and when that like banner came up and he was playing, I had one girl go like this. She just thought it was so cool. Goosebumps.
I think the coolest moment in it is when he's singing Purple Rain, and like when he like starts to have the crowd sing and he's just like standing there.
Yep, and I said that too.
I think that's the coolest moment because it's like that's like insane.
Yep, there's like a point where he just stops and he goes like this, and to get the people to sing with him, and that's like one of my greatest images of a performance ever.
Yeah, like that's gotta be like the coolest feeling you could ever have, like to have something you created and have people react like that.
And just, and then like he said, there was a marching band that was there too, and to hear that marching band go with it, unbelievable. So this is Purple Rain, but there's a little bit of humor behind this. Prince is my number one favorite artist of all time. I never saw him in concert ever, and these guys like to tease me about that a little bit.
I've seen all my favorite artists in concert.
Yeah, I never did. So they'll be like, "Mom, don't you remember when you saw him in concert? Oh, you didn't, and you can't. He's dead." And it's like, "Oh, come on now, that's not nice." But he
was still touring at that time.
He was. I don't know why I never saw him. I truly don't know why I never saw him in concert. Almost every person I talk to who knows Prince has seen him, but me. But before we cap off, our scores and everything, I do have to say this is just like a little side for me. Even though I love Purple Rain, my favorite song by him of all time is
what?
7.
Oh, Seven?
Yes, my favorite song is Seven, and there's so many analogies behind Seven. Some people say it's about the seven deadly sins. Some say it's talking about the seven names of God from the Old Testament. But it is such a powerful song, and it's very melodic. I don't know, there's just something about that song that I love. So I just had to throw that out there for people who might want to listen to it.
I like Kiss too.
Yes, you do.
That might be my favorite song by them.
It's that's a very pop song too. So yeah. What would you score it?
I mean, I don't think we really need to give scores to this. It's like, I don't know.
Mine would be 10 out of 10.
It's one of the best albums.
Yeah, or 20 out of 10, whatever. Right.
There's not anything, like, there's not one song that I would say, like, is bad or that I wouldn't re-listen to. I like them all.
Yep, 100%.
And the album, it's only like 45 minutes and it, like, flows super well. Mm-hmm. It's, like, really good for, like, every setting. It's, like, slow and fast.
Yes. And we talked a little bit about possibly doing his B-side hits instead of Purple Rain, but there's like 52 songs on there?
No, 56. Well, like, I guess, I don't know if you didn't know this, it looked like he released like 3 hits albums in the 90s.
Oh,
that had,
I didn't
like,
know that.
Half of the song, like half of the album must have been songs from these albums, because like Purple Rain's on this.
Yes. And
then half are like just random B-sides that maybe were supposed to be for those albums, but like never came out.
Okay.
Because they sound similar, like, to the songs on those albums.
Oh, definitely. Yes, 100%. So, yeah, I agree.
But, like, I was, like, listening through there. There's a lot of, like, random cool songs that, like, obviously weren't popular because they were just random B-sides.
Right. Like, we were talking, like, The Pope. I love the song The Pope, but I don't think anybody probably knows about that song other than a few, Prince fans. So,
okay.
Yeah.
But, so that's Purple Rain. We had to talk about Prince.
Thank you.
This week.
Yep. Thank you.
Considering it's the anniversary of his passing.
8 years. Yeah. Amazing.
But I'm Joe.
I'm Joe's mom.
We're Eastside Vibes, and thanks for watching.
Bye.